Welcome to this explainer. Today, we're diving straight into the absolutely fascinating science of how brain activity drives consciousness. And we're going to do it by examining a profound, almost magical mystery that you experience every single night. I'm talking about the exact moment your head hits the pillow. You know the feeling. You close your eyes, you get comfortable, and then just nothing. Or, well, so it seems. We rarely stop to think about the incredible biological shift that happens in that precise moment.
Section 1. Where do you go? The missing self. Let's kick things off by confronting a truly bizarre reality about your daily routine. Seriously, think about it for a second. We spend roughly a third of our entire lives doing something that completely erases our immediate sense of who we are. So where exactly do you go when you fall asleep? It's kind of the ultimate mystery of the missing self. When the lights go out, where does your consciousness actually vanish to? It's not like you just step into another room. The you that is experiencing this very sentence, the you that has a name and a whole history, just seems to evaporate into thin air. But how does that happen? And more importantly, what is your physical brain actually doing while you are, well, away? So before we can track down exactly where you go, we kind of need to pin down what you actually are in this scientific context. Basically, consciousness is the continuous experience of three things: awareness, memory, and identity. Awareness is your ability to perceive the room around you right now. Memory is your running record of what just happened a moment ago. And identity? That's that underlying foundational feeling of, I am me. Now, these three pillars rely on highly specific, synchronized brain activity. When you're awake, your brain is firing in this incredibly complex pattern that keeps all three of these pillars standing strong. But when you sleep, that intricate architecture totally transforms. Section 2. Mapping the sleep stages and the biological dismantling of the mind. Let's literally trace your descent through the actual stages of sleep.
You see, this journey of the disappearing self isn't just a simple, instant on-off switch. It is a structural, biological dismantling. As you journey from step 1, wakefulness, down through light sleep, into step 2, deep sleep, and eventually into step 3, REM sleep, your underlying brain activity dramatically shifts its operational state. During light sleep, your brainwaves actually begin to slow down, and the external world starts to fade out. Then, by the time you hit deep sleep, your brain is generating these massive slow waves of electrical activity sweeping right across your cortex. And then, in REM, your brain activity suddenly spikes back up to levels that are almost identical to being wide awake, even though your physical body remains completely paralyzed. Throughout these steps, the biological machinery driving your consciousness is completely altering its rhythm and purpose.
Section 3. Active brain, offline self. Now this stage reveals a massive paradox about the sleep stages we just mapped out.
We usually tend to think of sleep as a power-down mode for the whole system, right? Kind of like shutting the lid on your laptop or dimming the lights in your house. But the reality is a massive contrast. Your physical brain remains highly active. It's churning through metabolic energy, consolidating data, and firing neurons all night long. Yet your conscious self is utterly unaware, unperceiving, and seemingly completely absent. How wild is that? How can the physical organ responsible for generating you be so incredibly busy while you have literally no idea it's happening? Well, it proves that consciousness isn't just a byproduct of having an active brain, it is the result of a very specific pattern of brain activity. When that pattern breaks to do other essential tasks, the self goes away, even while the engine keeps running at full speed.
Section 4. The fate of your identity and the core pillars of the mind. The crucial point here is figuring out what exactly happens to these specific components.
So, where do your awareness, your memory, and your identity actually end up while your brain is working the night shift? If we track them across these different sleep states, we can see exactly how the brain systematically alters and suspends the experience of being you. In deep sleep, your awareness of the outside world is basically at absolute zero. Your memory formation, completely shut off, which, by the way, is exactly why you don't remember the hours you spend in dreamless sleep. And your identity is entirely suspended. But now consider what happens in REM sleep, the dreaming stage. Your awareness of an internal world turns on, but your logical identity is totally fractured. You might dream you're a completely different person, or you might accept absolutely bizarre realities without even questioning them. Your physical brain activity is the master controller here. It is literally driving this fluctuating consciousness, turning the dials of your awareness, memory, and identity up and down throughout the night.
Section 5. You never actually vanish. Here is the ultimate scientific reframe that completely changes how we understand the relationship between brain activity and consciousness.
It's super easy to look at this disappearing act every single night and feel a little bit of existential dread, right? Like we literally cease to exist.
But as the science shows, your sense of self is just temporarily offline. It is not gone. You don't actually vanish or shut down at night. Rather, your active brain simply shifts into a totally different functional mode. The intricate network of billions of neurons that creates your identity, your memories, and your continuous awareness does not dissolve into nothingness. It just stops communicating in the specific frequency required to generate the feeling of me. Think of it like a giant symphony orchestra. They stop playing the music to tune their instruments. The musicians are all still there. The potential for the music is still there. They're just temporarily in an offline status, doing the necessary maintenance work so they can play again perfectly. In fact, studies show that during this offline mode, your brain is actually flushing out cellular waste and literally washing itself. It's preparing a clean, perfectly maintained stage for the orchestra to perform on the very next day.
Because your brain stays so incredibly active, it proves a monumental point about our existence. Consciousness is an active state, not a power switch. You are not destroyed and recreated from scratch every single day. The underlying biological hardware remains intensely active, holding the complex blueprint of who you are completely intact. The physical brain activity is the constant, the conscious self is the variable. The self is merely paused by shifting biological states, allowing the physical brain to clean itself, organize your memories, and prepare to boot up the you program all over again the very next morning.
So I want to bring this right back to you and your own personal experience. Tonight, as you drift off, I want you to ask yourself, what is the physical shape of your final thought before the system goes offline? As you experience this transition firsthand, as your awareness begins to fade and your memory stops recording, try to catch that exact moment your brain activity shifts its state and pauses you. It is an incredible biological phenomenon happening right inside your own head. Enjoy exploring your own offline mode and sweet dreams.